Well, the Ashes is all set to begin for tomorrow. It's that time of the year when Test cricket will remain priority. Australia taking on England, and that too on Aussie soil. This is something that England fans have dreaded, considering the fact that the Aussies look ever so furious at the moment. The lineups have been finalised for both Test matches as well, and there's a lot that we will be talking about as far as the teams are concerned. Now, once again, injuries have hammered contention for both sides, but Australia still look to be somewhat of the favourites at the moment. England will have their work cut out when we talk about the Ashes. I'm Ahmed Nawaz, you're watching the Scoreboard, coming to you live from our platform of Pakistan TV, from our Islamabad studios. There's much to talk about when we discuss the Ashes in detail, but apart from that, there are other top stories on the programme today as well. Let's take a look at some of those top stories. Then, of course, from the Ashes, we move on to Italy, which has defeated Austria convincingly, and they're ever so near when it comes to their performance as well. Belgium, meanwhile, await Italy in the semi-finals. Matteo Berrettini and Coboloni won their singles for the Davis Cup tie as well. And even without Jannik Sinner, Italy looks to be a hot favourite right now. Then, of course, we move on to the Islamic Solidarity Games, where terrific news for Pakistan. Arshad Nadeem has won the gold medal in his throw of javelin competition, and he was absolutely outstanding. Meanwhile, Mohammad Yasir Sultan produced another superb performance for Pakistan as he bagged the silver medal. So it's a 1-2 at the podium for Pakistan, clinching both gold and silver. Then we move on to the UEFA Women's Champions League as well, where Arsenal have bounced back with a victory. They've been absolutely spectacular on a day which mattered the most as well, as they beat Real Madrid 2-1 in a tightly contested match. Alicia Russo scored twice for Arsenal, and she was just brilliant and led the Gunners all the way to victory as well. Then from there onward, we talk about football, which has been excluded from a government crackdown when it comes to the sport as well. Fans have voiced frustration over excessively high ticket resale prices across multiple sports as well, while the government now plans anti-scalping legislation in response to some of these matches as well, and ticket legislation that we talk about. It's something that has been on the debate for many years, but these new rules are now excluding football as well as part of the tickets and government's crackdown. Then we talk about 2026 Field of Dreams matchup as well, where a twins duo is all set to face Phillies in Dar es Salaam as well. Of course, this game with the Major League Baseball now confirming that Minnesota Twins will face the Philadelphia Phillies in the 2026 Field of Dreams game. It has now been official. Contest will once again be staged at the legendary baseball landmark in Iowa. So that is something that baseball fans are looking forward to as well. This will be a unique experience for baseball fans when it comes to this competition. Then we talk about Bangladesh versus Ireland in this second test match, which became Mushfiqur Rahim's historic test match, scoring 100 in his 100th test match, joins the elite list of players who have achieved this feat. Not many of them, but some great names in there as well, including former Pakistani Test cricketer and captain Inzamam ul Haq, also part of that elite list of players who have scored 100 in their 100th Test match. So congratulations to Mushfiqur Rahim, the first ever Bangladeshi to play 100 Test match. Then we move on, Tri-Nation Series. Zimbabwe take on Sri Lanka tonight. The action live 6 p.m. onwards on PTV Sports. We'll be giving you all the details, including the toss as well. It's a must-win game for Zimbabwe. They lost to Pakistan, but they were almost there. Sri Lanka have had a horrendous one-day international series. They'll be looking to make amends in the T20 format as well. And of course, some necessary preparation before the T20 World Cup. They're the joint host alongside India. So it's going to be very important for Sri Lanka. But I think Zimbabwe are probably going to do a wonder today and beat Sri Lanka in a T20, but that's my personal opinion. So that's what we're discussing on the show in detail. Time now to introduce the guest. Of course, joining us in studios first of all is sports expert and fellow anchor Syed Mohammad Owais. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well. Well, injuries have been difficult for both sides when it comes to Australia and England, but we've got a little clip to share with you as well. Let's take a look at that.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Are you ready? Get ready, dog. Get ready.
He does drive and brings up the 100. Oh! Brilliant innings by Travis Head. That is a blinder from Nathan Lyon.
The comeback kid, the childhood dream realised.
And he's got 5 on Boxing Day.
Build the man a statue.
Oh, Josh Hayes will want to start.
For the patience That's a good ball. And
Stays out.
He keep that plenty.
Brilliant delivery.
Well, there you have it, the Ashes. Yes, Syed Mohammad Owais, what are your predictions first of all in this Ashes series?
A tough one, I mean, because when you just speak about the last Ashes was played, I mean, England and Australia were a different team, and because unfortunately injuries, I mean, do count, because when you see Australia, definitely what comes to my mind would be Pat Cummins, I mean, not bowling, because I remember the last update what we had was that he bowled around for 1 hour in the nets and he looked good, but unfortunately he won't be making for the first test, and that test match playing at Perth, when you're a fast bowler, you would love to bowl on that wickets when playing against England specifically. And not a good news for both the teams, because when you talk about injuries, obviously Australia are more affected over here. But nice to see when you talk about Bolland being in the squad, because he's one of the guys to watch on. I was speaking to you of Mitchell Nasser. He's one of the guys, a right-arm medium pacer, but he's got around 400 to 500 first-class wickets. A brilliant fast bowler to watch on. So you would definitely have some new faces for the Australian side. But when you talk about the England, I mean, when you talk about specifically the batting order, in the middle order does not look what England used to be. I mean, a solid middle order, except Joy Root. You don't have anyone else I can say that you can rely on more. I know they have got Harry Brook, they have got Ben Duckett. Obviously, they're one of the campaigners, but the one excitement would be to watch Wood being back in the England squad after a long period of time. He's back for England. Archer, obviously, when it's Perth wicket, he's going to challenge you. But again, like I said, I mean, we would definitely be missing the likes of Pat Cummins, and because he's one of the guys who basically plays a shield kind of an anchor role for Australia. Because I remember many of them, we speak about Ricky Ponting, but I say he's one of the best Australian captain what Australia had. I mean, because silencing India in the World Cup, that was the best man to do that. And he's the guy, if anyone remembers, we do speak about Maxwell, but the innings what he played against Afghanistan, Ahmed Bhai, that was a match-winning innings, because if no one was on the other hand, Maxwell could have not done that.
I understand your perspective in all of this as well. But like I said, injuries have marred both sides as well. The thing with Australia is that you remove the best players that they have. Now, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood, not having them have not even dented their chances a little bit, because Mitchell Stark's still in there. He'll lead the pace attack. But for me, the trump card is still Scott Boland in this series.
Like I said, I mean, because Scott Boland, I remember when he initially played for Australia, before that, when he played for Big Bash, when he played for the Queensland, if I'm not wrong, in the tournament, the first class tournament over there in the Shield cricket, I remember people used to talk about him, but he was not that effective in words, because many of them did not see him. But when he came for Australia, and with that fear pace, I mean, what he brings, and specifically that in-cutter and a quick delivery, that's his plus point over there. That's what he brings up. I mean, that flavour in the bowling order, even in the batting, he can be lethal for you down the order. Mitchell Stark, obviously, everyone knows that the way he has been leading the pack of Australia. That's the thing when we talk about Test cricket in this kind of countries, how serious they take it. I mean,
absolutely, but you know, the English media has been absolutely ruthless against Steve Smith. They realized, you know, the Ashes is, I think, of course, fought on the field, but more of it is outside the field, because both media are going against each other, the players trolling each other as well. I mean, let's just take a look at a record of both these players as well, between Joe Root and Steve Smith, which is very, very interesting. That's on your screens. A look at their test match stats as well. So pretty much outstanding for both of them. But for Steve Smith, he's become a bit of a kryptonite for England now. They realize he's a stand-in skipper, and straight away the English journalists started taking a note of the sandpaper scandal again. And you know, even comments came from former English Test cricketer Monty Panesar, who says that he doesn't deserve to lead the Australian side or even be in the side. And Smith responded very aggressively to that.
I remember when this incident unfortunately happened, and if I'm not wrong, it was David Warner, and the Prime Minister of Australia said once that he carries more integrity than the Australian Prime Minister. That respect what you have for the cricketers in Australia. And when you talk about Stephen Smith, the incident what happened, even Bancroft was in that innings. I mean, he was the captain, if I'm not wrong. And I still remember before this Ashes to start on, the English media, even the English ex-cricketers started to basically speak about that incident. I mean, that does Smith deserve to be the captain of Australia when you have other players in the Australian side? Even you got Mitchell Stark too. I mean, so they basically just wanted to keep Stephen Smith out of the captaincy. But when you talk about the equation of both the players, because both players are to want to watch. I mean, Joy Root, Stephen Smith, Stephen Smith has not been frequently performing well recently.
But you know why I mentioned this? I know how Steve Smith has responded in the press conference. A journalist asked him this question that Monty Bannister has said that, you know, he's highlighted that sandpaper scandal. Let's take a look at how Steve Smith responded.
The other day, Monty Bannister spoke about how he wants the English team to kind of make you feel guilty for what happened in
I'm going to go off topic for a second here. Who of you in the room have seen Mastermind and Monty Panesar on that? Any of you? Yeah? For those of you who have, you'll understand where I'm coming from, and those of you who haven't, do yourself a favour because it's pretty comical. Anyone that believes that Athens is in Germany.
In which city is the Olympia Stadion built for the 1972 Olympics and where Germany's national football team played international matches until 2001? Oh, gosh. Athens? Munich.
Oliver Twist is a season of the year.
In an 1819 poem, what season of the year does Keats describe as a season of mists and mellow fruitfulness? Oliver Twist. Autumn.
And America is a city.
In which city is the television comedy series Cheers set? America. Boston.
Doesn't really bother me, those comments. So, yeah, that's as far as I'll go with that one.
This is my favorite time of the year. I mean, Steve Smith in that press conference has just questioned the intelligence of Monty Panesar, saying that anyone who thinks Athens is in Germany, I don't take his comments seriously. Yes, Syed Mohammad Owais.
that was Stephen Smith. I mean, that's Australia, the way they come up. And like I said, even in India, he was the one to get them silent. But when you talk about Stephen Smith, one thing what I loved about the press conference was that I know the English media, the Australian media, obviously they're going to be after each other. Even the players do. I mean, even the fans too. I mean, whatever happens in the stadium. But he was more positive while speaking to the media. Looked at, yes, he has led the Australian team very well. I know whatever incident happened, but he's one of the players to watch on. Yes, there are some bad patches because he hasn't been consistently performing well for Australia. Even in the, I would say, even in the ODIs, he has not consistently been performing well. Whereas you talk about Joy Root, he's one of the silent players who basically performs silently. Like he builds up the innings. I mean, he can play a big innings for you, even he can score 200, 300, the way he takes on the England middle-order specifically.
But I think there's too much reliance on certain players for England, but not for Australia. Let's take a look at both the squads that we're talking about. Now it's come down to the final 11 that has more or less been shortlisted as well. Jake Weatherald is making the opening spot with Usman Khwaja. That has been confirmed. Manas Labuschagne comes at 3. Steve's going to bat at 4. Travis Head, Cameron Green at 5 and 6 I think are brilliant, but Alex Carey at 7. This is the real danger that Australia have in their side. Mitchell Starc, Nathan Lyon, Scott Boland and Brendan Doggett makes it to the Australian side as well. But elsewhere, if you look at England's squad now, which they have narrowed down as well, England are going with a touch of a difference now. If you look at the English squad, I think they're playing 11. Ben Stokes, the captain, Jofra Archer, Gus Atkinson, Shoaib Bashir, Harry Brook, Brendan Carse, Zach Crawley, Ben Duckett, Ollie Pope, Joe Root, Jamie Smith and Mark Wood make up for the final 11 for England as well. They are going to go with Shoaib Bashir. That's what my sources have confirmed me already. But there is, like I said, if you look at this Australian batting lineup, Steve Smith, Manas Labuschagne 3 and 4, a very important pair. But for me, 5, 6, 7 is where Australia's real danger is.
Yeah, I mean, because Travis Head, if you talk about Travis Head, if you talk about Alex Carey, I mean, they're the ones who can basically build up the innings and who can play aggressive on the day required. And when you have Mark Wood, Archer versus them, specifically the wicket, Perth wicket, where this kind of batsmen, they're more dangerous. I mean, that's the battle to watch on. But when you just talk about both the teams, even we're discussing off air, when you talk about Australia, you have got a strong, I would say, middle order, even the top order, the middle order and down the order, where you can basically play any kind of a cricket required at that time, defensive or aggressive. But when you talk about the English lineup right now, they have been struggling, specifically when you talk about the opening department. I know you have got Ollie Pope, you got Ben Duckett, but when you come in the middle order where you need someone who could basically build up the innings for England, they have been quietly struggling over there. Joy Root will have to literally play a very crucial role, I would say, in the middle order when England needs up, because it's going to be, again, for me, in the Perth, it's not the batsman's role. It's basically going to be ball versus bat, because bowlers would definitely come on to you.
England, I don't want to say this again and again. although I've been a big English fan. But the fact is that there just seems to be too much reliance on Jofra Archer and Mark Wood. Mark Wood's going to be pacey, I understand, but Jofra Archer, even with the comeback from injury, he's been okay, he's been decent. But having so much reliance on one player, and let's be honest, you know, they lack a quality spinner. Shoaib is a good spinner, but he's young right now. With the likes of Nathan Lyon, who can make up for overs for Australia, England still look pretty much weak. And to be honest, Ben Stokes has not been in the most brilliant form with the ball. He's not even wanted to ball it many times.
So, I mean, if you just compare both the bowling lineup, specifically when you talk about the pace battery, you got Jofra Archer, you got Mark Wood. Mark Wood, obviously, I rate him a lot more than Jofra Archer because the fitness he has been carrying for England. I remember when he initially came for England, he was not that effective what he is right now. I mean, everyone speaks about him when you got Perth wicket and Mark Wood bowling. Literally, you have to watch him perfectly because he's the guy who's going to test you, specifically with the short pitch deliveries. But when you talk about Jofra Archer, except England, I haven't seen him performing well in other conditions. I mean, when you talk about, he plays a lot of IPL. I mean, when you talk about the Asian conditions, he has been struggling with it. Secondly, after that stress fracture came for the England team, he did perform, but in patches. For the longer format, he has still not been regularly
And it's
playing.
not easy for a player to come back from that.
It's not
injury.
going to, because he's played smaller formats. He's not played that longer format. So it's going to be a test of nerve for him.
But some people are still saying England's best chance to win a test match is this one, because obviously Pat Cummins isn't there, Hazelwood isn't there. Otherwise, people are saying they don't stand a chance in this series.
I know the English would not like you, and my friends, I mean, it's sorry, man, you guys won't, because I mean, when you talk about Perth and if you just talk about the batting order, really, you'll have to work hard. It's not going to be easy for them. I know Australia obviously playing at Perth, specifically your fitness would be tested because it's heat over there, the bowlers will be tested. But when you talk about the batting order of Australia, they're literally going to play with your nerves. I mean, because the psychological pressure, what Australia basically just steps in the ground. I mean, and secondly, what advantage they have. It's not about Steven Smith or Mitchell Starc. It's about the batting order they carry. I mean, they have got full of flavors. I mean, who can play aggressive, who can build up the innings, even who can play the mindset of a fast bowler. So that's the plus point. Secondly, when you talk about the spin, where spin's going to be playing a role at the third or fourth day in Perth, little bit, I would say, where you need to have the purchase. Nathan Lyon is more effective as compared to English spinners. I mean, because he's the guy who's played a lot of matches, good for Australia, and he's the one who's brilliant at Perth. I mean, so it's going to be a test nerves for English. But for me, I would say if Australia gets to bat on initially on this wicket, it's going to be one of the flamboyant cricket, not the one what you have seen from England.
Absolutely.
It's going to be full of flavors.
Well, absolutely. Wes, stay with us. We're going to come back to you, but now we're going to take you focus to a record once again that has been made. We've had so many great ambassadors of the game that we all love, especially Test cricket. And Mushfiqur Rahim certainly stands tall as one of them. Becomes the first Bangladeshi to not only play 100 Test matches, but at the same time also scores 100 in his 100th Test match, joining some elite list of players who have done that as well. To talk more on this, we've been joined by someone who happens to be the head of sports for the Daily Times at Bangladesh and also an expert here on our program. Shahnoor Rabbani joins us from Bangladesh. Assalamu alaikum, Shahnoor. Welcome to the Scoreboard. How are you?
Walaikum assalam, and assalamu alaikum everyone that is watching us. Pretty good. Have to say that Bangladesh are in a very good position currently in this test match, having taken 5 wickets. Ireland trailing by a mammoth 378 runs, but more on Mushfiqur Rahim. Yes, the 106 from 214 deliveries was almost chanceless. He didn't give anything away to the bowlers before he actually got out. And the way he actually controlled the innings, he was on 99 not out last night, keep in mind. Putting all that noise, all of that adulation and everything that happened before the test match, all of that aside, to concentrate like that on your 100th test, to be playing test cricket for 20 plus years is a testament to what he's done. And Bangladesh, keep in mind that they don't play so many test matches, 155 odd test matches before this in the last 25 years. So that's less than 10 test matches per year if you break it down. So yeah, it is something of a massive achievement, not just for Bangladesh cricket, but also you look at people or players who are interested in playing test cricket and to continue for 20 plus years in this format with a lot of things that surround Bangladesh cricket. There's a lot of noise about a lot of other things, but for this man, he's just put the game ahead, and you know, he's shown the way for a lot of young players coming up the ranks that yes, this is the ultimate format. You have to focus on this. And in the age of T20 cricket, where players retire prematurely from other countries, especially, we're seeing it. He's the one who's really showing the way. He's now on 13 test centuries, joint highest with Mominul Haq as far as Bangladeshi test centurions are concerned. He's played the most number of test matches. We already spoke about that. He scored the most number of test runs for a Bangladeshi cricketer, most number of deliveries faced by a Bangladeshi in tests. And, the records can go on and on. But more than anything, it's the person that Mushfiqur Rahim is in front of the camera and behind the camera, because he's the first to training and he's the last one out. He puts that work ethic ahead of everything else, and that's something that everyone can learn from.
Well, let's talk about the character, because I think that is the most important take from this. This is a guy who scored tons of runs for Bangladesh. He scored a double 100. He scored hundreds. He's been there. But more than that, he's been part of the team in very testing times. I also highlighted a day before some of the captains he's played under. Then he himself has led Bangladesh as well. And at those times, let's be honest, there have been a lot of uncertain things going around with the Bangladeshi Cricket Board and captaincy issues. But he's not let those things really affect his performance. I think one thing we can say about him is that he's been a true team man for Bangladesh. How would you identify that journey across the years playing under different captains?
Yeah, I think what I mentioned just a while ago is he doesn't let the noise around him really distract him. He was the captain for the test team for a long time. The 2017 series in South Africa happened, and then he wasn't the captain, and he said that he would never captain again. A lot of players in the Bangladesh setup have done this, and then they've retired prematurely or they've left the format, but Mushfiq continued. And, what he's shown is the great determination and to clear out all the noise, the surrounding issues. And like you mentioned with Bangladesh and certain difficult times, even now you could say that there are certain uncertain times as far as this test team is concerned, because Bangladesh didn't really know who was going to be the long-term test captain before Najmul Hossain Shanto was offered the captaincy again, and he decided to take it. And, Mushfiqur Rahim, throughout all the noise, he's kept his spot, he's performed. And even in this match, if you look at what he's done, Bangladesh were 3 odd down for 100 runs, and Ireland were looking good for more. Had Mushfiq not played that century and the innings that he did, and staying 99 not out as well, not playing to the crowd that, yeah, I'm going to get the 100 in the last over of the day, doing things his way. But at the end of the day, it helped the team, and it helps the team, and that's Mushfiqur Rahim.
That I'd like you to identify for our viewers is the fantastic ceremony that was organized by the Bangladesh Cricket Board at the start of this test match for Mushfiqur Rahim. Could you please highlight what was on offer, the officials that were participating, also family members were also there. It's very special, and it's something that has been missing a lot from the Bangladesh cricket, the harmony between the players and the board. But this was a fantastic display of honoring Mushfiqur Rahim. Talk us through the ceremony as well.
Yeah, absolutely. From what Habibul Bashar Shumon, the first test cap giver to Mushfiqur Rahim, he was the captain when Mushfiq played his first test match, to the special test cap casket by Akram Khan, who was also a former captain, part of the board as well, and to everything else that was done. I think the current board has really focused on putting test cricket, putting the cricketers, not just Mushfiqur Rahim, but also I want to just slightly highlight that they're trying to help the grassroots cricket, and they're trying to help the domestic cricketers as much as they can. They're trying to put cricket first. And I
very much, Shahnoor, for joining us. Well, news from the centre is that Sri Lanka has won the toss and they've opted to bowl first. I think a very straightforward decision for any skipper who wins the toss at Pindi Cricket Stadium these days. They want to bowl first. And of course, you heard from Zimbabwe skipper as well, Sikandar Raza, who has identified that they believe that they have enough to pull this game to their side as well. But Syed Mohammad Owais, I think right decision. Obviously, they have the due factor in mind as well. So considering that, sides would want to bowl first.
For me, that Sialkoti boy's naughty smile, I mean, that shows that he would have loved to bat over here first, because I mean, this wicket basically is a high-scoring game. I mean, when you just talk about the Pindi wicket, if it's a used wicket, and obviously winning the toss over here, getting initially to ball first is important, because due factor, I remember when I was there for Pakistan versus Sri Lanka match, it was a lot of dew. I mean, towel was being used a lot, and secondly, the ropes were being a lot used. I mean, so it's a brilliant thing to just ball on first over here. But one thing, when you talk about the Zimbabwe team, it's not that Zimbabwe team anymore, what we know. I mean, if you just go through the breakdown of them, they have got some fabulous openers. The two young lads, I mean, they have collectively, they have played more than 100 first-class matches with brilliant track record. When you talk about the middle order, I know Brendan Taylor wasn't in the good forms, but he's one of the senior players. Sikandar Raza, even if you can listen from the other captain, he says that he's the wicket to watch on, and he's the one. He plays at number 3, he can play at number 5. The good thing, what I love about him, is that he's adapted to any conditions what the team wants him.
But finally, I think Zimbabwe have really adjusted to the equation now. They have a bowling that can defend any target.
They have, but for me, the biggest problem for me in the Zimbabwean side was regarding the batting experience, I mean, in the middle order.
You know, because we see right now on our screens, you can see Bennett, Marmani, Taylor, Burl and Raza. That's the experience that you're searching for. But then again, like I said, they make up for a good tail as well. But Bennett and Marumani, if they give them a good start, Taylor, Burl and Raza can really consolidate. I think that's all you want, your top 5 batters to be in great form.
That's the point I said, because I mean, in the last match, it was Brendan Taylor's wicket. I mean, he's one of the one. I know many of them don't rate him, but he's literally very lethal with the batting. He's performed well against Australia too. I mean, he's the guy to watch on. But for me, when you talk about Hassan Raza's aftermath, when you talk about the other batters, that's the point where I'm missing the experience of what Williams used to carry on. Everine, if you remember what he used to carry on. So that's the negative point what Zimbabwe needs to fix up over here. But one thing about the bowling unit, especially the pace battery, when you talk about versus Pakistan, it was a channel pace battery.
Well, let's take a look at the Sri Lankan squad as well at the same time. I think that is something that will give us a perspective of, there you go, they go with Pathum Nasanka. Then, of course, Kamindu Mendes comes in, Kusal Pereira, Rajapaksa in there as well. And I think that's something that you're searching for in that. But they've got a good enough bowling attack as well at the same time. I think Hasaranga and Thishkana once again are going to be the key elements for them. And then Tushara and Malinga who are also participating. But then again, like I said, I think a lot relying on Hasaranka and Thishkana as far as the spin element is concerned.
But that's the full squad. I mean, because you were discussing even on the other platform that it's important Hasaranga is playing or not, because he's going to be lethal over here. When you talk about the captaincy, I know Lanka has been a main candidate for the captainship. I mean, he hasn't been performing well, not in the good patches. But when you talk about the captain who's right now leading the Sri Lankan side, I mean, I was happy to have him back in the squad. Why? Because he's the one who has basically got a brilliant track record in Pakistan, not lost any series, I mean, not lost any matches in Pakistan specifically. And when you talk about the breakdown, what he brings in the Sri Lankan team, Nisanka, in a brilliant performance he has been showing on, Kusal Mendes, you know what caliber, what he brings in the middle order. Specifically, when you talk about the number 5-6 position where Shanaka comes to bat on as a captain with Hasaranga, that's an important position because he's a kind of a player who can basically build up.
What's a score you think is safe today? Because if I look at the perspective over here, Pakistan, you know, could make a mess of any total, but Sri Lanka over here want to chase this down. So what's a safe total that you think Zimbabwe is looking at right now?
I mean, like I said, on a lighter note, that the Sialkoti boy was happy looking at the wicket. That wicket shows that the total over here, I guess this is the wicket where Pakistan Super League matches were mainly played on. I mean, so if I look at that point, due factor did play a role over in that, but the matches were like 180, 190. I mean, so it's important to get at least 180 over here when you talk about the Sri Lanka side, because even in the Pakistan match, the way Zimbabwe started on, it seemed that they might touch 170, 175, which could have been a good total against Pakistan. But when you talk about Sri Lanka, so they need to have in mind that 170, 180, because this is a wicket where basically it's full of runs, and you would definitely want that plan to execute over here, because Sri Lanka, again, I know Zimbabwe has been a great side, not letting them down, but Sri Lanka are dangerous.
Well, you can say Sri Lanka. I'm going to tell you Zimbabwe is going to win this match. It's going to be settled in the next 3 hours. But let's take a look at the head-to-head stats of both teams as well. There's a bit of history when it comes to T20 international cricket. And of course, Zimbabwe up against Sri Lanka. 9 matches have been played, 7 won by Sri Lanka, only 2 by Zimbabwe. And of course, 3 home games, 2 away games for Sri Lanka. Neutral venue, they've won 2. Obviously, stats go in favor of Sri Lanka, but right now Zimbabwe are the favourites so far. I think this is because of Sikandar Raza. There's always so much support as well that we talk about for Zimbabwe. But I think T20 is a kind of brand where they have really improved themselves. But why do we again talk about Sikandar Raza? Because he's greatly improved in the last 2 to 3 years to be a fantastic ambassador for Cricket Zimbabwe, and at the same time has led the side brilliantly as well. But that being said, Sri Lanka, Owais, is a side that has made it to the most semi-finals in T20s when we talk about them. They're hosting a T20 World Cup next year in just a couple of months now with joint host India. They are in a phase where they've enjoyed T20 cricket. They're going to be playing at home. How do you rate Sri Lanka as an opposition in the World Cup?
Ahmed bhai, they're one of the teams, I mean, you would agree with me. I would say a dark horse kind of a team. I mean, they perform, but they don't make that impact what other teams make on, like when you talk about Pakistan even. I mean, on a lighter note, that they can be doing anything on the given day. But Sri Lanka is one of the teams, not T20, any World Cup. If you say they just quit in the initial stages, they almost play the semi-finals or quarterfinals. I mean, one of the most dominating teams, I would say. But when you talk about this team specifically playing in Sri Lanka, they're going to be deadly, because it's very important when you speak about the World Cup. I guess 70-75 days or more left for the World Cup coming up. We really need to have at least our Pakistan team to travel there to play some side matches, not with the Sri Lanka team, at least with the Sri Lanka A, because you need to get used to that kind of wickets. When you talk about this Sri Lanka side right now playing today, what comes in my mind is that this is going to be the team which is going to play the World T20.
But
because
that condition of West is going to be spin heavy. And let's be honest, the biggest problem Pakistani batters have had is against spin.
So that's the thing I'm telling you, because when you talk about this team especially playing today, for me in my mind comes up that this is going to be the playing 11, starting 11 for Sri Lanka in the World Cup. And this team, when playing against Pakistan in Sri Lanka with Tiskana and specifically with Hasaranga, they're going to be lethal, because that the middle order where you basically have to build up the innings against spin, that's a challenge for Pakistan. Babar Azam, again, I know he's one of the caliber batsmen who needs some time. Whole batting should not revolve around him. I mean, they need to have their own roles over here. But when you talk about Babar Azam, when you talk about Usman Khan, the squad what we see right now, I don't know whether there would be changes. They need to work on. I mean, it's Sri Lanka. It's not a strike rate.
I was very happy with Usman's performance. I'll be very honest. I think he did a good job. That was something needed. And to be honest, a lot of news has reached us that he's worked really hard on his fitness and his technique at the high performance center. So if the guy's improving and looks to be an option amongst 3 or 4 that were given, then why not give him a chance in the World Cup?
See, I mean, we were the ones, obviously we criticized him because we want him to perform. When you talk about top wicket keepers in the world, I mean, they have been batting up the order. You see they're batting up the order, open up or one down position. Wicket keeper is a very important position when you talk about T20 specifically. If you just break him down in the last match, what I loved about was that playing spin, he was actually using the crease very deep. I mean, he was going into the deep. The cuts what he was using on that shows he's more confident against spin now, because if you remember, the struggling point was playing against spin. It's not his mistake. Why do I say that? Because he's the guy who's played whole his life as an opener or one-down batsman facing that pace battery. He's performed well. But when you talk about the spin option, he has been struggling, and in the initial match it looked he's brilliant against that. But he's not played more cricket in Sri Lanka. That's a testing term I'm talking about, that you need to have some matches over there, at least they get used to it. Talking about the middle order, I know opening department has doing well, but in patches they need to be consistently. But when you talk about the middle order, the real concern for me, for anyone, don't want to let him down, it's Salman Ali Agha, where he bats.
The skipper himself.
The skipper himself, because you know there are news coming up that if he is not the skipper, he might not fit into the T20, because let's be frank, I mean, he's a brilliant ODI cricketer, brilliantly performing well. In Test cricket, he's brilliant. But when you talk about the T20, he needs to understand that's a position where you need some batters who can play aggressive cricket for you. That's the point I said, where you could have Irfan Khan. Niazi could have been a brilliant choice. Nawaz is playing brilliantly. Names coming up like Shadab Khan might be included in the Pakistan team.
No, might. When you say it, it's confirmed. So if you've got confirmed news, please let our viewers know.
I mean, I can't say that it's a confirmed news, but when he joined the Pakistan camp, I mean, for the practice, that's the point where I doubted him and said, let's see, I mean, coming back. But for me, one name I would definitely want in Sri Lanka, you would agree with me, it's Abbas Afridi, because he's the guy specifically when playing in Sri Lanka with the slower ones. He's going to be lethal effective.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much, Syed Mohammad Owais, for joining us. I know your source, so I know this is confirmed news that you're giving us. But now we move on to some terrific news for Pakistan, and that was where Arshad Nadeem has won the gold medal for Pakistan at the Islamic Solidarity Games being played in Riyadh. Arshad Nadeem with a throw of 83.05 won the gold medal alongside Mohammad Yasir from Pakistan with a throw of 76.04 who won the silver medal. So it was a 1-2 finish for Pakistan at the podium, and I think it's terrific news for Pakistan once again. The Islamic Solidarity Games very competitive, but I think we've not just gotten gold but silver as well, and 2 javelin throws for Pakistan. I know a lot of us were expecting that they're going to get a gold medal from Arshad Nadeem, but at the same time I think if we've gotten a silver medal by Mohammad Yasir, that is also something that we should be appreciating as well. Now, to discuss this further, we have been joined on the scoreboard by senior sports journalist Abdul Ghaffar. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the scoreboard. How are you, sir?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much for having me.
Ghaffar Sahab, what would you like to highlight? I think it's terrific news, not only a gold medal, which was much expected from Arshad Nadeem, but also a silver medal for Mohammad Yasir. I think that just adds to Pakistan's celebrations.
Yes, absolutely. Wonderful news. And of course, Islamic Solidarity Games, where Arshad Nadeem also won the gold medal back in 2021. But I think this time around, when he won the gold medal for Pakistan, I think it is very significant because he now come back from the injury. You know, his performances in the Tokyo, the World Athletic Championship was not, as per our expectations. But I think this will give him a lot of confidence. And Arshad Nadeem, I think, already, made his mark in the Pakistan history. He is, I think, one of the most decorated, most celebrated individual athlete we have in our in our entire history of the sport. The gold medal in Olympics, he's the only one who achieved this feat. But I think this time around, as you guys said, that not only Arshad Nadeem but also Yasir Sultana following him for the last 2-3 years, and he also practicing along with Arshad Nadeem in Lahore, and he has the potential. I'm very sure if he has the guidance, if he has the proper facilitation, and of course the encouragement like Arshad Nadeem got after the winning the gold medal. But I think very important now we should realize that few matches, not every time you can be celebrated the big gold medals after when the athlete achieves something. I think Yasir Sultan is someone we should very clearly back him right now. Don't wait for his gold medal and then we all celebrate it. I think he needs some also facilitation. He needs encouragement, and I'm pretty sure that Pakistan Athletic Federation and of course the Punjab government, the Pakistan government, I think they should utilize the services of Arshad Nadeem. He is the a legend of the game. None but better than him then to coach and guide the people like Yasir Sultan, who is coming into the ranks. So it's a wonderful news. Not only that Arshad Nadeem, again reassert his dominance in the region and of course in the javelin throw, but also the way, as you guys mentioned, that Yasir Sultan win the silver medal. I think it's a wonderful news, but also come with the responsibility.
Change now that we've seen in the past couple of years. How would you highlight the change that the Pakistani media has seen? You yourself are a senior sports journalist. There's been a lot of cricket dominance, let's be honest, but I think for the past 2 years now or 3 years, there's been a change in rhetoric from sports media outlets as well, digital, print, electronic, that now we're talking about certain sports. We're talking about javelin, we're talking about shooting, we're talking about football, hockey. How do you see this change that has come and has even come from the Pakistani media as well? I know a lot of that credit goes to Arshad Nadeem, but how would you define this change?
Yes, absolutely, because we now have a lot of news channels, and of course the digital media now is pretty much in the same lines of the electronic and the mainstream media. And just I think almost 15 minutes ago I was watching one of the Pakistan leading news channel, and the cricketers were discussing Arshad Nadeem performance in the Islamic Solidarity Game. But this is a change, and this is because of the performances like Arshad Nadeem, become wonder boy of Pakistan. But one thing media should realize, and also the government, that we should also encourage and give a lot of airtime and stories to the process, the athlete goes in process right now. After winning the gold medal, it is very easier. It is become almost mandatory to highlight them. But also, I agree with your point. I got your point that now if you are able to win a single medal, like lot of our MMA players, lot of our boxing players, lot of our Scrabble players, now if they won the tournament, we all got the news from their, respective media representative, and then we honored this. So we have a lot of airtime now, and I think now, in my opinion, I think any sports and of course any athlete don't have complaint from anyone because they got the right, exposure, the encouragement. But I think the basic thing that they also get the good facilities and more facilities around, so they will, shine more in their respective fields.
Right. Thank you very much, Ghaffar, for joining us and highlighting this interesting perspective. And I think congratulations are in order for Arshad Nadeem and for Yasir Sultan as well. They've been absolutely brilliant. So I think Ghaffar is absolutely right that we've seen a paradigm shift in sports and the importance given to various sports. And much of that success has been related to the fact that Arshad Nadeem has done splendidly well. So I think congratulations to them. But I think at the same time, we would once again say that now the youth of Pakistan have got tremendous opportunities to contribute and be part of the Pakistani contingent in various sports. It's not just cricket anymore. We can talk about football, hockey, squash, athletics. Then, you've seen javelin throw, shooting competitions, taekwondo, volleyball right now is very popular in Pakistan. We've got some great results as well. Snooker itself is giving us good results as well. So I think across disciplines, across multiple sports, Pakistanis have been doing very well, and I think it's an opportunity for the youth. Yes, we do believe that we still need a lot of infrastructure support. We do still need to work and invest in the grassroots levels, but I think the priorities are very certain. A lot of that vision has come from the Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Shehbaz Sharif, who has also established a sports endowment fund. Pakistan's first sports policy has also been established, and I think the government of Pakistan is very much focused now to promote sports at grassroots levels and bring it at par with international standards as well. That being said, that's all from this edition of the Scoreboard. From me and my entire team, it's goodbye for now.